He went to one of the high-end tailors that's still around nowadays, and they said, "We love your work, you're clearly more superior than everyone else, but the white people won't work with you here," because of the time and the generation they were in, and they asked him to work from home. I had a few family members that came across because of the Windrush generation. So the first one that came across was actually my uncle Ernest. He came as a radio operator in the World War II, and he actually stayed as a result of that. And then his sister, so my aunt and her husband, followed subsequently. And they came across, my uncle was actually a really talented tailor, so the plan was that he would do that when he was here. Sadly that didn't happen. Because they came across and they had challenges, that led into actually my great uncle working in the NHS, because he went to one of the high-end tailors that's still around nowadays, and they said, "We love your work, you're clearly more superior than everyone else, but the white people won't work with you here," because of the time and the generation they were in, and they asked him to work from home. Clearly he wasn't prepared to compromise his morals on that, so actually he ended up being a porter in the NHS. He actually did that all the way through his career, for the rest of his career, and then did his tailoring on the side. I think the meanings of Windrush for me have become a lot more apparent recently. I think we come from a family that seems to not talk about things till people die. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I actually only found out about our connection much later. So I was already quite far through my career when I realised that this link was here, and it's quite exciting. It's quite, you know, you're quite proud of it, but actually I knew our family had come across, but the kind of the detail and the context is something I found out much later on. I think for me, you know, having that history of someone who's been linked through the Windrush and worked in the NHS is quite special, because the reality is if he hadn't done what he did, my mum would never have chosen to come to university here. You know, she spent her summers with them. Ultimately, she stayed, she fell in love with my dad and got married, and actually my aunt was there when my first sister was born. So I think if they had not come here, you know, she wouldn't have had the support network in order for us to, you know, find the family that we are now. If I could speak to my Uncle Len about what I'm doing now, I'd probably say, "Can you make me some more work clothes?" He was an exceptional tailor. I think he'd be really proud. You know, unfortunately I lost him quite a few years ago, but to me they were like my grandparents of the UK, because my grandparents were in Jamaica. So I think he would be proud. He had a strong work ethic, and I hope that that's something that as a family, we as his kind of great nieces and his grandchildren have carried on.